Good evening, everyone. This is the July curriculum, co-curricular athletic and pupil personnel meeting for the summer months. And we do still have a very exciting and packed agenda, even though Dr. Lehman is out on vacation. So without much ado, I'm already late. I'm going to get started. First on the agenda is our pupil personnel staff and Mr. Maralda for the extended school year overview.
So, thanks.
Mr. Akar, all yours.
We're going to kick it off. So we are actually officially halfway through our ESY program. Today was a halfway point, which began July 8th and runs through August 8th. And extended school year is a program where educational services are provided to eligible students with disabilities beyond the regular school year. So we're talking about trying to prevent regression, trying to make sure those skills are still intact throughout the summer, so when that school year begins. This year, our ESY program is providing instruction and services to 232 students, with 57 being housed at the high school. Going off of last year was the first year we actually staggered our schedule, which worked out very well to maximize our instructional time for the students that are placed at the high school. So those students who are housed at the high school for ESY attend from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And those that are housed at Oak Tree attend from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We really do have excellent staff. I don't even have to kind of exaggerate with that. They're the reason why the backbone of why it runs so smoothly. So they absolutely deserve a great deal, if not all the credit for the success we have with our ESY program. This year, we've also continued to work collaboratively with the community. We've already had the fire department come. We've had dates set for the police department, for the bookmobile, the ice cream truck, which is obviously the highlight of it.
I can understand.
Yeah, absolutely. What's that date?
Did he come already?
It didn't come yet.
Oh,
That's a good.
okay, so I know.
Save this up. And also our 18 to 21-year-old transition adult program that we have here at the high school has continued to engage in work-based learning and CBI. So we've been able to continue that experience they have during the school year, also during the summer. Also, kind of building on Ms. Broadway, you had said our partnership with Ms. Maralda's summer program too. We've been able to continue that partnership and actually expand on it from last year. So some of the things that we've already had in place included STEM, culinary arts, consumer science, pre-vocational skills, business management, operation activities. I think Ms. Maralda also could kind of elaborate on some more of that.
Yeah, so when, a few years ago, when a portion of DSY came over to the high school, one of the major reasons for that, we wanted to take advantage of the facilities there at the high school, specifically for our older students. At the same time, we were constructing and building out our summer enrichment programs, and we found that there was some opportunity there to really expand on the curriculum that was being delivered through ESY. So we staggered our enrichment camp schedules to work alongside of ESY. So for example, in the earlier weeks, we had some of our students come down and set up some of our activities for our students as part of their pre-vocational education. Everything from retail management, as Mr. Arcaro said, to some marketing and signage design, and they help us out with a lot of the operations of the camp, which is great for them. And we try to appropriately contextualize it with a mini lesson prior to let them know what this might look like in a retail job. So we teach them how to front face the store. We taught them how to, talk about prices and deal with customers, even everything from not touching someone's elbow to how to shake hands. So we really tied in and try to contextualize it. The following week, we brought them into the culinary arts lab where they were able to take advantage of some of the culinary enrichment activities that we have going on. And then just the past couple of weeks, we've been sending some of our STEM specialists down to Oak Tree because we didn't want to just limit these activities to the high school students. So we've been pushing in and doing some design challenges using some introduction to robotics modules. What we've been doing to really ensure that the parents are aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it. We've been trying to send out periodic emails to the parents, explaining why, what the kids are doing outside of their
Cooking with
ESY, yes, outside of their ESY schedules, but also letting them know why we're doing it. So we try to link them to even give them the links to the standards that these modules are being driven by, and also introducing them to the instructors in the hopes that down the lane, when it comes time to select electives or align with something that may support their careers beyond school, they've already been exposed. So it's been a nice way to really get a little added value into ESY. And I think what it's also done, because the ESY teachers don't just take a break when we're doing these things, they're part of these lessons as well. And it supports some of our efforts for inclusionary learning when appropriate. So our ESY teachers get to do some of the culinary activities and STEM activities and things like that. But all of these things that we're doing are part of the larger plans that the special ed department and some of our pre-vocational programming have planned for our older learners. So we're excited to take it into the fall as well.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So the collaboration sounds amazing, but does this also mean that the students that are enrolled in the summer enrichment programs are actually sometimes in classes at the same time as the ESY students? Is it some similar age groups?
Not yet.
Okay.
So right now, the enrichment that we are, and it may happen, we do have student volunteers in there, so they are getting the inclusionary experience. But this is not, the ESY, we call it ESY intergrade. The ESY intergrade is not an enrichment camp as much as it is a special elective that we're offering during ESY. At the conclusion of ESY, which I believe is what, the 8th or the 9th, ESY? So we've already been in communications and Jen and Anthony have been helping with this. We've been setting up our ESY students to participate in the camp when ESY concludes. And why that's significant, because sometimes we need to put some modifications in place. But what's been nice is that some of the kids have come in, they've tried the cooking lesson, and then they said, hey, I would like to join the camp when ESY wraps. And at that point, we already know their dietary restrictions, we know what their needs would be. And we've already started dialogue with a lot of the parents. And years ago, when we started doing this, that was kind of our vision in an effort, because we felt like things were getting a little stale at ESY. So we brought the high school, or the older kids over here, and then we used the enrichment build out as an opportunity to pump some life into the program.
That is excellent. So all of our enrichment programs can be adapted to include our
They all can be.
differentiated needs,
They all can be. That's not necessarily meaning that they all will be this summer. We're trying to work around.
depending on the interest. Okay.
But the goal would be that at some point, we keep refining and rebuilding, would be whatever we're doing in enrichment, we're doing at ESY, and any enrichment camp that takes place during ESY will also be available once ESY completes. So nobody's missing out on anything.
I've been seeing the updates on our district's Facebook page, and I have to say, it's all very exciting, the programs, enrichment school programs. So kudos to the administration for continuing to update us
Thank
on it. And we know what's going on and what the students are doing, and it's good to see that.
And much of that content that we put online is created by some of our students, and a lot of our honor students come in for volunteer hours and stuff. So it's really nice to give them meaningful work, which helps us, and it helps better.
That's good. Yeah. Anybody else, any questions on the update for the ESY program? Any questions on the ESY? All right, let's go on to the next exciting thing on the agenda. The
Super
college.
exciting.
Very exciting. Lots of questions too, so.
Yeah, no problem.
All
So,
yours,
Dr. Chanley and Dr. Lehman asked me to give the committee an update on where we are with the Rowan College Acceleration Program. We have received a MOA from the university that we will be signing and sending back. As of right now, they approved 2 of our courses as dual enrollment courses. They are both computer classes. The first is AP Computer Science Principles, which will be 3 credits for Rowan's Computer Science Principles class, which is CSO 1101, and our Advanced Web Design class, which is CSO 1105 Web Literacy, which is another 3 credits. As I said before, Rowan University has reached out. They're trying to build up and improve their advancement program or acceleration program. We applied for, I think I sent in 45 different courses that I would like them to review. These are the 2 that they've sent back so far. So that once we sign the memorandum of agreement, then we can add on any courses that we want. The time consuming part is that all of their departments, their curricular departments at Rowan, have to review our application and either approve or deny. We've had some that were denied, for different reasons, but I expect to hear back, on many different courses over the next couple of months or so. The interesting thing with all of this is the memorandum of agreement starts August 1st, but the credits aren't actually issued until the spring semester. So, any student that would be taking advantage of this, and it's $100 a credit, by the way, so it's a
Very inexpensive.
college class for
Very
$300, college credit for $300. They wouldn't be getting any of the credits until the second half of the semester, the second half of the year. A student must maintain a C average to get the credit. If they do not get a C or they withdraw from the class during the year, they would get a W on their college transcript. It would not be a failure. So if they get a D or they get an F in the class in high school, it would just be marked down as a withdrawal in their. But there is a process that all the students, we would work with the students and the teachers as they go through. We do this for all of our current dual enrollment classes. They would open an account for Rowan. They would go on their dashboard and they would sign up for credits and go through that way. And then our instructor would actually input the grades. And that's really the only thing extra. Everything else is driven by Monroe, by our instructors, by our curriculum, and the agreement is just between Rowan.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, Dr. Hagan. For the students that are taking those two AP classes, which are our advanced.
One's honors class.
One's an AP
Computer
computer.
science principles and web design is an honor.
But they represent the honors class. So the AP class, whether or not they get a higher than a 3 in that AP exam, if they maintain a C or above grade, they would still get the college credit.
They would get the college credit through Rowan, that is correct.
Through Rowan.
Yes.
And if it's accepted in.
It can be accepted anywhere, yes.
Yep.
And to correct me if I'm wrong, principles is a class that a lot of colleges don't accept the AP credit
Yes,
from.
it is not accepted as much as AP computer science.
3 is definitely
Yes.
not accepted. I think the.
The course itself is not
The course
accepted in
itself,
some
okay. But
courses.
the
Because
Rowan
it
credits
was
were probably-
offered after AP computer science A. It's considered a course before the other one.
Oh, that's.
There are a lot of schools that do offer it or do accept it, but there are some competitive high-level schools that do not. So in those cases, if they're not going to accept the AP credits, they're not accepting that type of course. I would think that they may not accept the Rowan credits, but as we always tell parents and students, always check to the type of schools that you might be applying to.
And I had another point, but I completely forgot what it was. Sorry, no, I apologize for that.
Thanks. Maybe my questioning will bring it up.
Hopefully.
You said that you had tried to get 45 courses accepted into this dual credit program. Is there an opportunity for us to get a few more in before the school year starts, or just those two for the?
So that's all driven by Rowan. Like I said, their department chairs have to go over it with their departments. The application went in at the end of their spring semester, so this is downtime for a lot of them, the end of the spring semester and their summer intersessions. I will stay on top of them. I repeatedly will send an email and say any updates, things like that. So I can send something before the end of the summer, and see if any of their departments, the feeling that I got from them, and I believe Dr. Rozelle got the same feeling, was that a lot of the language courses may be accepted. For instance, like I put in our Latin courses and things like that, and they may be accepted. So I'm looking forward to hearing some more from them.
For the benefit of the people listening in tonight, would you just summarize, this with Rowan is new, but we've been doing this in the high school with the Middlesex College in Delaware.
Sure, we have 8, this will mark our 8th course that is scheduled for dual enrollment with different institutions. We have Middlesex College, Kane University, Delaware University, and now Rowan University as our partners for an acceleration program.
And if I may?
Yes, please.
So one of the things when I came on board as acting and then it was continued, and it was nice to see in the strategic plan, because you would hope that the things that come up as the superintendent's goals that match with board goals then were wanted by the community, because it shows that you're on the right track. So during our strategic plan meeting, and many of you had participated, which is wonderful, this had been one of the things we're looking for that,
Alternate pathways.
yes, we're looking for the alternate pathways. We're looking for the strength. Option 2 has been very, very successful. It's something that we were able to start last year. So this is another thing, this is gonna be, as we continue to move forward and we talk about superintendent's goals along with board goals, this is gonna be something that we're gonna keep on. And, in addition, one of the other things that we started having conversations about is also the vocational program, because we want to be very mindful that the accelerated classes and the dual enrollment program in which we embrace our high achievers, we also are respectful and cognizant of our achievers that are not necessarily, not that they're not high, but they learn a little bit differently. So the vocational piece is where it comes in, where we can give them the strengths, because vocational education also is a wonderful opportunity as we grow, as our children grow, because we want to set them up as good citizens, being able to be successful in the world. And being successful in the world doesn't just mean the elite education, which we absolutely push for, but it also means being a plumber, an auto mechanic, an electrician. So we're also, and Mr. Morales, I don't think tonight is one of the nights, but I think it's going to be on maybe on the next agenda. We're going to talk about the vehicular
Sure, yep,
Class.
that's a new, course.
that we're looking,
offered in
right.
September.
So I think it's great what you're doing. So, of course, with the board's approval, once we have that conversation, this is going to be a goal that's going to continue. Because it's just, we're very fortunate. We met with Middlesex County, I want to say it was over a year ago at this juncture.
It was, yeah, about this time last year.
This time last year to look, and we were very excited about Delaware and super excited about Rowan. Super excited. So, and I love the fact that you threw 40 classes at them. I think that's wonderful, 40 courses.
I threw.
I mean, I'm not saying, we may only wind up with 5 or 6, but whatever. I mean, I think it's fantastic.
Well, I will, a shout out to my, my counterparts that are sitting with us, the supervisors. We went through their document, and looked at all of their courses that they were offering. I think it was 900 pages was the.
Wow.
document. And we pulled out only 43 courses, but I mean, you can imagine the courses that they offer at it.
So next year at this meeting, you're going to tell us that you've pulled out 85.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure like paleontology
Yes.
would work or things like that, but, I think we did a real thorough job in looking at the different courses that they offered and how they lined up with our curriculum, and anticipated what they would be willing to agree to. So I'm still waiting to hear back on a lot of these courses. Like I said, that timeline is driven by that.
And in the summer, they don't have the same staffing. With most of the universities, they do, I mean, they still have classes, but it's not the same level of the professionals being in as they do September through June, September through May, I should say. The second.
And that's not to say that if it's not approved this year, we reevaluate every year, which is part of the agreement. We can reevaluate every year. There may be an opportunity, say next year for a course that gets another instructor, or it's a new course. We have a new course that is being offered this year for the first time that I put on the list, but was not approved probably because it's the first year running it. So you may see something like that come in the future.
So it's an ongoing.
I do want to reiterate the cost benefits to the students and the parents that are listening in.
$100 is
You know, $100 a credit is way cheaper than when you would have your child go to college education, take it from a parent who just sent one this year. It's so expensive, it's becoming unaffordable by the day. So as many dual credits as the students get the opportunity to take, they should take advantage of it. And thank you to you and your team for putting in the time and the effort. I hope this continues. We go from 8 to 80. That's our hope. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions? Yes, please.
I just have one.
Oh,
And I do commend you. I think that's dynamite in terms of, one, the expense of college is just outrageous, it's astronomical. And this is gonna help, I think, in the long run. I know it helps my granddaughter, so I can appreciate what you do, and I think that's one I really do.
Thank you.
And of course, my only question, and it's not a critical, it's a question. It has to do with, how does this become part? This is gonna happen in-house, and then what's gonna happen is gonna be part of their instructional process. So kids will be assigned a class, those kids who show this unique proficiency, it might be in computers and, and it could be open to even freshmen, or I imagine sophomore, junior kids, because, you never know when that proficiency occurs,
So we have prerequisites for these courses.
Okay,
So our students would have to show certain level of proficiency to be allowed to take the course as a high school student, whether it's a dual enrollment course or not. And if they show that proficiency and they fall within the parameters of what the high school expects of them, then they would have the opportunity to do that dual enrollment.
thank you.
And if I can speak to that as a parent, my child took the class in high school. he met the conditions to take the class in high school. I, as a parent, had to enroll him. So you do the paperwork to enroll him in Middlesex County College, you pay the extra $100 or $300, whatever that course is. And then when they've made their grades here final, you get the credits from the college
Right.
with a certificate that can be used, which I used when he got admission in University of Maryland, and it saved me the cost of him
That
taking
class.
that class. So there were 2 classes that he took here in high school that I didn't have to pay for in college, which is huge savings. So I, from personal experience also, I can give a testimonial that we're really serving our community by making these opportunities available.
So, and just, I mean, if right now, if you were able to get 3 credits off of all of these courses, you'd be walking out of here with 24 college credits possible.
And there are some districts, we should notate, there are districts that surround us, and this is why it became one of our goals, that their children graduate with an associate's degree by the time they get out of high school. So
those
it
are
is
different-
done.
Those are different, there are different
Different
programs like that,
programs.
like, so the goal really here is that, it's almost like a virtual associate's degree. It wouldn't be a partnership with one college where you get an associate's degree. There are high schools that have those partnerships with, say, Middlesex County or Brookdale, where your high school student can go to college at the same time. But it's a different, unique partnership that are very hard to come by.
But I think it's something that, we'll look into it. Yeah.
We can, very difficult. We have looked at it, it is very difficult.
But it's,
Those partnerships have been around for decades.
I know, they've been around a really long time.
but those 24 credits is almost a year off of college.
And that's at least,
Right.
and that's
right
at
there.
least through our program with our seniors, for our credit programs with our, the name escapes me right now. Senior option, or
Senior
senior.
options.
There's a possibility of getting more credit to work, to do as a senior, working with different colleges.
Did anybody else have
Great
any
job.
questions? Yeah.
Work-based learning.
Work-based
Sorry.
learning.
So thank you, Dr. Higgins. I do want to say this before we move on to the next item on the agenda. Parents that are listening in, please reach out to your child's counselors to understand more of these opportunities. The more students that take this in this program, there's more demand, there's more effort from our side to add more to it. So I hope everybody will take advantage of it. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Mr. Monroe, you're up for the enrichment update, the district enrichment update. Thank you.
Sure. So we are about at the noontide of our summer enrichment program. Our first our theater program is wrapped. Friday will be our final performance of our summer music series. And Friday will also conclude our first Lego week. We will continue with some computer science and robotics through August and some culinary arts and fine arts as well, including our new courses, which would be our computer-aided design courses, which are brand new this summer, which we're very excited about to get our kids designing and 3D printing before high school. We've also been kicking around the idea of expanding our programs later in the summer, and we fully intend on continuing our year-round enrichment programs. We recently were approached with an opportunity to potentially launch something at the end of the summer to help
911.
high school enrichment. So you may recall that last time when we did our after-action report, at the conclusion of last year's summer enrichment program, we identified one of the major vacancies or voids as part of our offering for high school enrichment. Now, the high school has always offered freshman programs and other types of enrichment programs, but nothing in the likeness of what we have done for our younger learners over the past 4 years. One of the ideas that we had kicked around that we thought would directly benefit our high school students was the idea of an SAT prep course. Prior to right about when I started teaching, there was an actual curricular course, an SAT prep course, which was, if I understand, very popular. And then it kind of became, the SAT preparation became more of a lifestyle in our town. So we found that it was maybe a little redundant. Since then, our high school has led the forefront in our approach to preparing our students for these standardized tests such as the SAT. And one of the things we do is we give our students the opportunity to all take the PSAT, which gives our teachers and our guidance departments some incredible data they can use in preparation for the real deal. So we thought that an SAT prep course would be very popular amongst our students and parents, particularly given the fact that our teachers would have access to that PSAT data, which would give us a pretty unique advantage in preparing for such an enrichment program. And also, give us an idea to find out what our students' strengths are and just give them a little bit of edge heading into the real thing. The other thing our district does is that we've always historically hosted the SATs and offered it here on site, which, is advantageous for our students reliably. And we've been continuing to do that for longer than I can remember. I remember proctoring as a teacher. So Dr. Lehman was approached by the Monroe Township Education Foundation and who's been looking to reemerge and reconnect with some of our students and our parents. And one of, obviously with our enrichment programs, they come at a cost at a time when programmatic expansion is challenging. So he asked our team, our summer enrichment team, which continues to develop programs all year round, if we could come up with something on an abbreviated timeframe that we think would be able to be delivered authentically with fidelity, and then also maybe turn into something that could be sustainable. So we thought that maybe, well, not maybe, we knew that we could deliver this course pursuant to our vision of expanding high school enrichment, potentially turning it into a revenue-generating mechanism for our enrichment services program, which would help keep us solvent and continue to expand. But more importantly, a creative way to leverage some of the unique resources that Monroe has. PSAT data, and we have a whole roster of teachers that have experienced either privately or with other professional organizations teaching SAT prep, whether it's through a tutoring system or what's one of the private schools, there's a million of them around here. So in sum, we presented a plan to the Monroe Foundation that we believe we would be able to deliver, well, we know we'd be able to deliver if they would be able to fund the seed resources or the startup money to get this thing off the ground, which if done successfully, we could believe could turn into something permanent for the district as the latest addition to our enrichment services. So I had the fortune of having access to these teachers all summer because many of them work for us in our enrichment program or for our remediation services. So before Dr. Lehman left, we had the opportunity, we had an opportunity to present to the MAF a vision for how we think we could turn this thing on as soon as this autumn. So what we're proposing is a free SAT prep course, 6 days, leading into the August 24th administration of the SAT, which we would be using as a pilot program to model a potential permanent solution to offering enrichment SAT preparation, taught as all of our enrichment programs, all of our enrichment programs are by our own teachers, fully certified, that have an experience doing such a thing. We even went as far as to map out a module that could be delivered in the timeframe that we have proposed. And then what we would do with this pilot program is that we would use the pre-existing PSAT data that our district already has access to and identify students that we believe would benefit the most from this type of programming. We would cap the class to that 20 using an application system and some sort of randomized system to ensure equity and parity. We would run this leading into the August 24th SAT. And if our district felt like this was a worthwhile venture, we would then explore turning this into a permanent offering, which would then line up with the other SAT offerings throughout the school year. The Monroe Ed Foundation received this idea very favorably. And it is our hope that we can turn this thing on and get going and see how it goes.
Just one little correction, just put 15 there. I don't want to go out to the parents.
This is not finalized. This would not go public yet.
Just a little mistake. Bill,
What is the correction?
the date, it should be the 14th, 15th, 19th, 20th. Oh, yeah. Just change the 16th to the 15th, unless you want to keep Friday, but if you want Thursday, it's the 15th.
Yeah, I don't think you want to go for it.
Yeah.
The cost of running this pilot is $1,725.
Yeah, and that includes teacher prep time and the small amount allocated for consumable materials and marketing.
We're using our facilities, we're using our equipment, but this cost would cover the teacher prep time and the teaching time.
Approximately more than an overwhelming amount is dedicated strictly to staff.
And this is completely.
Think that $185 is, or like $200 or $185 is allocated for consumable resources. So
Okay.
that's the amount of all the
Okay,
staff.
so it's mostly the staffing cost, but all of this is going to come from the Monroe Education Foundation for the pilot.
Correct. This is
No
not
cost
cost
at all.
If the pilot, the timing is, couldn't be better. But what happens after the pilot? What's the proposal for
That
this
is-
enrichment?
Well, we would hope, obviously we would take a look, to see.
How it's
It would be a pretty rough, I don't know if I would definitely cast judgment on the success or the vibrancy of the pilot based on.
Maybe
such a small-
participation,
Yeah,
the need for it.
but, I think that what we really would look at is the community response. So we would have to move very quickly on this, obviously. We would treat this almost the very same way we treated the summer program, where we didn't know what to expect. It was free. So we put it out there to the parents to gauge responsiveness, and the responsiveness led us to believe that there is a desire for this in the community. So we would approach it the same way, and that's why we felt confident approaching the MEF that we could pull this off, because we've done it before. And we've already issued postings, and we've already preliminarily, verbally and unofficially identified staff that would be able to do this. So these are assumptions that we are moving forward unless there's any resistance. And then I look forward to reporting out in September, see how it went, let you guys know how it went.
So, Mr. Monroe, my question was more from the perspective of continuity. If it's going to be, I can tell you as a parent of a high schooler, it's going to be well received in the community. We don't have any such classes within Monroe unless people go for private instruction. People are driving their kids a half hour, 20 minutes a week. MEF is sponsoring this pilot program. Would they continue to
No.
sponsor? Then it would become a pay-as-you-go.
Correct. That would be our goal. So we're utilizing this as, I think you used the right word, to pilot, and I think also, really, I like the word startup. So they're providing the startup funds. I think that's the way I
We're
would say
approaching
it.
it the same way you approach ESSER.
Right.
So we-
Exactly,
We
exactly.
leverage the ESSER funds to start up enrichment services, which when.
With
it's
no
funded
cost
by
to
the-
parents.
We then shifted the cost onto the parent.
Okay.
Ultimately, that's what this would be. We would have to shift cost onto the parents. It is very low cost. It's not like robotics where I have to go out and buy technology, or the culinary camps where I would have to go out and buy. It would be most likely personnel driven, and because of that reason, you'd probably be able to keep the cost relatively low. If you look at our enrichment, costs, they're directly rated, or our fees, they're directly related to how much the program costs. Robotics are more expensive, culinary is more expensive, band is not. Simply because it doesn't cost us much to teach it. Robotics and culinary are very expensive to teach. This program, has very little overhead.
Are we limiting to how many students would be?
20, it'll be 40 total students, 20 students per class, and then they flop.
And they
And
have
first come, first
registered
served?
already?
No, not first come, first served. We're gonna, we have to establish a screening mechanism,
Okay.
randomized, and I will be
Good.
working with the guidance office to identify a score range of which students we believe would benefit the most from this type of preparation.
Ms. Alvarez, you had a question, please.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. My only concern is that there's such a short period of time, and I'm worried that maybe there won't be enough interest. People might have vacations. You know,
That's definitely a
it's,
concern.
yeah, it's like the 23rd already, so,
Yeah, so we
That's my
have to
only
move it on this pretty quick.
yeah.
I think though, we have a population, I think that we
That's
have to
it.
turn people away.
Okay.
But I do agree with you. I think it's just, I was approached with it, I guess, a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, before Dr. Lehman went on his vacation, and, about this being the way in which they wanted to contribute their finances. And we did have a conversation about, is it too short? Is it too quick? Is it too soon? And we felt, you know what? Why not?
It's probably
Why-
too short, but we.
Why not? And that's, that's why we love a
I
pilot,
think you meet the
because,
40 easily.
right, I think so too. But you're right, because if it's something that we want to continue with, we would give advance notice, like, in January, by the way, remember that.
Well, to that end, I believe the high school is hosting the FATs in October.
Yes.
Or somewhere.
Yes.
So we could potentially operationalize this as soon as September.
I think it's very exciting.
And then we can't release this info until it goes through the board on the 31st, right?
That, I don't know the protocol
How
for
does
that.
that work?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
To release-
Can we
So,
start putting this out, or it has to go through?
Well, the
board
question would be,
approval?
can we promote it without officially accepting?
Yeah.
the money, yeah.
No, if
No.
it's a donation from an outside organization, this has to be on next month's
It
agenda.
is.
Oh,
This
this
month,
month's
this
agenda,
month,
sorry,
this month.
on
It's on the
Wednesday.
So today, so realistically, if, of course, the committee moves it forward,
Right, right.
then we're ready to have it on the agenda for Wednesday, and then on Thursday morning,
Wednesday night.
or Wednesday night, knowing us 2 o'clock in the morning, it'll be out there, which will be great, and then we'll have.
All right.
And we'll talk about it. What's nice is it's something that could even, during curriculum, when you do, it can come up and say this evening on our agenda. And for those that watch and those that are interested, They are, no, the early learn, the early learn, right?
Email after the
Absolutely,
board meeting.
so
It is something that obviously would need to be fleshed out, thoroughly.
I'm gonna give you a little.
This is a very absurd timeline, and it's very atypical. I just want to make that clear. But I think it would be, I don't want to, miss out on the opportunity.
I agree.
And then I would like, it would be great to see how it goes and then kick it over to like the content experts and see what they can do.
From my experience, the August 24th SAT date, it has a lot of kids registering because a lot of children take that as a, oh, I'm gonna try one more time. Maybe I can get, 10 points more. So kids who already have an SAT score are also giving this one before they start writing the college application. So, but they've already taken classes, they're not enrolled in any other classes. So I see a lot of opportunity here, especially if the class size is only 30. I don't think we're going to have empty seats.
Okay.
We just have to market it immediately. And then, like you said, you guys are ready for it, word of mouth, our meetings, hopefully people are.
Right, and then
listening.
social media, so, once we have the board meeting, as long as we have
This
the
is a good
approval.
thing.
We
So,
could get directly to the right households pretty easily.
Yeah, I
agree.
And I think it would just be a matter of, and I said this in the original presentation, free programs are very tricky. Now, I learned this the hard way because everyone's until, you know what I mean? So like, well, we had,
Sometimes actually go.
yeah, and then what happens, it's like, you don't want to oversell an airline and then have empty seats. It's like good deals, whereas like, I could have 25 people say they're coming and then, oh, it's nice, it's a beach day, so. So that, and when there's a fee involved, they tend to show up. So that's the one thing we're a little worried about, but we have to make it, I'll deal with it.
Record, if you don't mind, the October SATs are October 5th, so it'll be a quick turnaround.
It's a very good.
There's also SATs December 7th, so,
That might be a little more.
October, we are hosting, is that what it is? We are
yeah, Saturdays. We host SATs on Saturdays.
So can I ask, because I've not seen a consistency in Monroe. Do we only host every October or is there a particular cycle to it?
We host every, so it's not the school district that hosts it, we just use the building. We host for our students. It's actually a college board that pays teachers to monitor the SAT.
They prop to
So
the, yeah.
only Monroe students can give the SAT? No, I know the other kids.
I'm not gonna answer that question because I'm not
Okay.
100% sure.
Mhm.
But
I think it's more than one rest.
it is, I think anybody can take.
Yeah, I
it.
do too.
But we do it here for the benefit of our students,
Okay.
right? So they don't have to travel outside to do it. And we do it on Saturdays. It is run by Dr. Fratelli, who does an amazing job. It's now all online, so it's much quicker. But I just wanted to make sure, I wanted you to know that the turnaround
Yeah.
for that, between October and between August and the first.
I
of
don't see
October
there being
was-
another.
Yeah, and but I think the key to this, to make this like really, really good, and this is something that's gonna take a little bit of time to get everyone involved, is with the fact that in Monroe, we capture all of the PSAT data, like the entire school's work. And that could be pretty useful when designing something like this. When you think about a personalized SAT, we could take
For
this
our
as far as that.
Our students.
And it does not stop there. We could get into the business of ACT prep, AP prep down the road.
For
Any
the
other-
first year ever this year too, freshmen will be taking the PSATs. So there's just even more test prep.
Freshmen.
Mhm.
Freshman,
It's-
sophomore, it used to be just
Sophomore.
sophomores and juniors. But now there's a freshman test, the sophomore test, and the junior test.
Is that new starting this year?
Freshman is starting this year, yes.
Is that like something new statewide?
No, you always had a choice. There are schools that do 3 grades. There are schools that do 2 grades. There are schools that only do juniors. We have taken the opportunity to do all 3 grades because it would actually benefit our schedule a little bit better. We're not worried about freshmen coming in late on a day and seniors coming in late, so we can actually have a test prep for our students for 3 years. The
That's great.
PSATs have been beneficial to our
Yeah.
SAT schools. We have excellent SAT schools in this district.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
Interesting to know.
I didn't know that's the.
Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, I just want to commend you. I think this is extremely well done. It answers all my questions.
Oh, good, thank you.
Okay, and I think it's great to have something like this available. It really is. And there's a lot of grant money out there. And I really believe that perhaps the Education Foundation would be willing to sponsor this again. I mean, there's an awful lot, not just from them, but from a lot of other groups out there. If you go online and look at the different kinds of dollars out there, the different kinds of organizations, they're out there. I've gotten a lot of grants.
I think we were resolving and we met with the tech or my tech ed staff today at the robotics lab. We already resolved ourselves to the reality that money is tight and we need to find alternate sources of money, whether that be through revenue generation, grants, sponsorships. And we are open to all, and we will pursue all viable leads.
And we do have our Director of Human Resources, Ms. Christine Christie, is also now our Supervisor of Grants. And she, I mean, and we even have, you know, we have right here Title III. So she utilizes what comes from the state. And additionally, she goes constantly onto webinars and trainings to learn, as you're speaking about, what type of grant money, what are the requirements? Some of the grants look fabulous, and then when you look into them, they're not realistic for us, of course, their expectations. And even if I get something and it's like a joke between her and I now, and it's really more commercialized, but I'm not sure, I forward it. Because you never know, because, you know, they see I'm a superintendent, so I get all of this, I get all of these emails, all these emails, but I never automatically assume that it's not something that can be utilized. So if I'm not sure if it's something we can do, and I even have sent some of them to Mr. Monroe, depending upon the area, as well as I know with Mr. Snyder. So I do appreciate your comments, and I thought it was valuable to agree 100%, because you just never know where you get that money from. We did it for like water stations. I mean, in the past, we've done so many different things, so you never know.
Yeah.
And
It's out there,
you gotta know how to look.
Right,
all about looking.
it's a specialized area. I mean, there's certain terminology, you know, you need to know what they're looking for, and there are certain things you've got to say. I know National Science Foundation, there are so many places out there that
And that's
are available.
That's why her training is so
Yep.
important, because what she does is,
Absolutely.
she did grants, this was years ago before she came here, and then when we had a position that I reallocated and realigned, I realized that she had this background from her old district, and what was valuable is, I'll say to her, you know, did you see this? She's like, oh, yes, we just discussed it, and then she's part of a group. So by going to these trainings, she's part of this group, because you're right, it's verbiage, it's terminology, it's, it's almost like when you do a search. If you're looking for information on Google, Google is only as valuable as the person who's doing the searching, because you need to know those keywords. So I agree with you 100%, absolutely.
Before we move on to the next item on the agenda, Dr. Morel, Mr. Morel, that's all right. I had a request for you. These handouts are amazing,
Thank
but
you,
I
Dr.
did not part of it.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. If it's possible, could you add this to the executive attachments for the rest of the board members, because it's not part of it? And
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
With the caveat that they remain in draft.
And you gotta change the date.
Sometimes we're working till the last minute before the meeting, so it's okay, but everybody that's reviewing the meeting later, the board members could open this attachment and see, and they'll get more context to what we're talking
Yeah, I'll
about.
pop it over to Mr. Lynn.
Thank you. Just, in the past also, I've seen amazing attachments from you, but they're not on the, for me to go back and reference, but luckily for me.
So we'll put them in only the executive content.
Exactly.
Until after Wednesday, and then.
Other board members to be able
That'd be
to
great.
see the same way that we are
I
seeing.
think that's great.
Yeah, because sometimes after we discuss, I'll go back.
And make changes.
So I just don't want.
And it's good for us to be able to go back and look at attachments even a couple months later. And
Right, no, I agree.
yours are usually not part of it because you're probably bringing them up as,
Right.
but it's all good. It's great stuff that you should have access to.
Yeah, thanks.
You're up, Dr. Roselle, for the Spanish Board.
All right, so I have the Spanish Word document. This update was to serve a couple purposes. Our vision for our world languages department is to learn language through content and through culture. And that is I don't want to say trend, the approach that is being passed down by national organizations and is reflected in our state standards. The standards were updated in 2020, and we have a few mandates that we wanted to ensure our Spanish board document was aligned to. We're also revising these higher level courses, as Dr. Higgins had talked about, for the dual enrollment. So when we went through different colleges' courses and some of their sample syllabi, we wanted to make sure that we were hitting the same proficiency levels to increase the odds that these courses would be accepted for the dual enrollment as well. Spanish 4 is taken by juniors and seniors. We have a pathway for students to go on to AP if they are taking Spanish 4 as opposed to Spanish 4 honors. As a junior, we've created a pathway for them to be able to take AP, but even more importantly, to be able to pursue the seal of biliteracy. So all of the units culminate in performance-based relevant application of skills. and we address curricular mandates. For example, there is a climate change mandate. So our final unit in Spanish 4 is to examine an element of climate change, endangered species, how a natural disaster may have affected a Spanish-speaking country, or even a predominantly Hispanic inhabited area of the U.S. And be able to explore those ideas through the Spanish language. Really excited about it, a really comprehensive document. Will Ron did an excellent job.
Sounds very exciting. And this can be taken by juniors and seniors.
Spanish 4 is open to juniors and seniors.
And this is not the honors work.
This is not the honors. This is the standard. The honors is not up for revision.
So wouldn't this revision, given that you said that it was lacking in a few things that would help us with you, wouldn't honors be missing those?
So the honors, all of our honors track courses in our world language were already aligned several years back when the AP updated, when the AP updated their courses.
Yeah.
We aligned all of our units in our honors courses, so that each of them spiral in complexity, but we hit all of those 6 themes through those honors courses. So it was really more of a beefing up of the standard level course because the honors level courses are already on track.
All right. Anybody else, any questions on Spanish?
Okay, look, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate, because the question I'm gonna ask is how was it leaked up? And how is it gonna be driven? And I thank you, you've answered it before. So thank you very much. And by the way, this is very well done.
It is incredibly well done. This is an exemplar document.
It was very, when I looked through this, I was quite impressed.
Yes.
Must tell you, this should be an outstanding program for kids.
That's coming from a guy who's lived in curricular
Yeah.
documents.
Yeah, it is a very strong document.
Thank you.
It's a good thing, it's a good thing.
Thank you, Charlie. So, Dr. Roselle, would you mind, are you speaking to the Turnitin
Yeah,
renewal?
I
Or
can.
are you speaking to it? Because I did have a question on that. So we are moving on to the renewal part of the agenda.
That's
right?
correct.
We have about 4 renewals, so whatever I talked in.
I absolutely can. So our Turnitin, a couple of years back, we took a look at Turnitin.
3 years ago.
We met as an administrative team. We revamped some of the training that we provided to our teachers. We looked at our usage and how we're using different tools. They continue to expand their repertoire. So in addition to the originality reports, draft coach, so students get feedback within Google Docs. It's an add-on in Google Docs to be able to get their feedback. Students are able to peer coach. So when they're turning in drafts, teachers can set up so that peers can do some revision there. And it's really scaffolded, so it's aligned to the rubrics that a teacher has selected and things like that. And then there is also an AI detection tool as well. That is, Turnitin has been, kind of on the forefront of some of that as well. And Turnitin is what is used by the College Board for any performance-based AP submission. So in AP seminar, AP research, any of those things as well.
So I'd like to add to the Turnitin. So I want to thank Dr. Roselle. So I want to say since I've been 3 years ago, we stopped and we said 2 years, we stopped and said, it's not that we don't want to renew it, but we need to look at the validity of it, the valueness of it. And you did a presentation with Dr. Higgins and they came in because I think one of the things we were all on the same page, we heard from parents. And we want to respect parents, even if perhaps they're not always correct in their assumptions or their perspective, but we want to listen. And they thought we were using it as a gotcha tool. So Dr. Roselle did a fabulous job. And she stopped and they looked at it and they said, no. It's much more than just Grammarly. It's much more than just a tool to see who's cheating and who's not. And they've really, I think through the training of the staff, it's made a difference because if you didn't retrain the staff and have a different vision of what they were looking for, I think it would have been utilized in the same way that the parents thought it was being utilized.
And just to be, again, for the public as well, Turnitin does not say this student plagiarized,
Correct.
this student did not plagiarize.
It's a similarity.
Right, it provides what's called an originality or a similarity report and cites the different sources that a student may have used. So if you are doing a an analysis paper and you're required to use outside sources, you're not going to have a 0% similarity score because you're citing other
Correct.
sources. Whereas, your language arts teacher sent you home to do a reflection piece on 2 poems you read, that really should be 0 because no outside sources were required. And we've, really done tremendous work with teachers about communicating and being transparent about how the tool is used, in the assessment piece as well.
So I had 2 questions. The
Yes.
first one is on the financial part of it. I saw that the renewal is $15,000. If memory serves me right, it was more expensive.
Oh, because it was, no, yes and no. Originally, when it was brought here before we looked into it, they were going to the middle school.
Yeah,
Right.
So it was an addition, and then that was
I thought The
removed.
middle school was 50 something, but just the high school was 30, so maybe I'm remembering wrong. So we haven't changed anything.
we have changed.
We are using
nothing.
all the tools that we were using in the previous years, high school only, and the cost hasn't changed.
Nothing has changed.
Okay, so then my memory is not, so I'm getting old.
No,
The other thing, and you briefly touched upon it, I think there's a struggle with AI out there and our teachers are learning, our students are learning, they're learning faster than the teachers. How to use these socials, how to use AI to write for them, and then finagle it to make it look like they're not for sure. So I know there's a lot going on out there, and Turnitin is our tool, as per you, to help the teachers with finding similarities. That's a term we'll use, that this exists somewhere, and it's able to also detect if it was written by AI, right? I feel like if it's end of the day, a teacher's decision, given the percentages, is it time to set some sort of a guidance for our teachers? Because they're having, and I'm.
I
sure
I just went to a conference
So
2 days
I
ago.
think that's really.
I just went to this
Dr.
conference.
Kelly just went to a conference.
That's
I
chaos.
It's a
have-
pain point.
I have NJPSA. I went to a conference back in March, the ASCD National Conference, and did a full day, and then 3 days in DC on AI as well.
Excellent.
Because there are social justice issues, there are equity issues, there are.
Ethical considerations,
privacy
yes.
Concerns and things like that.
Compliance and governance with AI.
The state, actually, Strauss-Esme sent
I was just
a
gonna say that.
memo.
Yes, they're gonna be-
There is policy
Yes.
guidance coming
Coming
out.
out.
Good.
On August 6th, I'm signed up for a webinar with NJPSA. We've had these conversations ongoing, particularly at the high school. I will say we've seen this since the release of ChatGPT in December of 2022.
Yes.
And it keeps coming out. We also, since January, have the new media literacy regulations and requirements.
Okay.
And a lot of this is navigating AI and generative AI, because there's a lot of amazing things this tool can do and ways it's being used.
Yes.
But we also have that academic integrity piece.
Exactly.
So to follow up what you say,
Yeah.
100% is, for the first time, I had not gone to any conference, so I just went to a conference, I guess it was last week. It was so exceptional because it was so well-rounded. I sat in, the sessions I went to were college level, as well as representatives from companies that deal with the AI. Superintendents had spoken on it, and I think what you just said is perfect. It is an enormous, fabulous, wonderful tool that needs to have guidelines and needs to have, we as the professionals need to say, we cannot say we're not going to utilize it. We cannot say you use ChatGPT, so you're a cheater.
Power.
100%. It's not any different when everybody got an iPad and we all went, they're gonna just go online and get the information, and they're not gonna really read Sir Damon and the Green Knight. Well, not that anybody knows what that is, but you know what that is.
I know.
So, what we need to do is, and I think what we did in the sessions, and one person spoke, and they were from the College University of New York, so they were a CUNY, and they were, one was a programmer, the other gentleman was a coder, and the woman had a media literacy for the Staten Island College. She was a CUNY, and they were saying that the ethical considerations along with access, and that's where you get the equity piece. But have no fear. They actually tracked me down because they knew I said I was from Staten Island, so they tracked me down when they saw me in the area we were having lunch and said, Strauss-Esme is ready. Strauss-Esme is ready, and they're ready to release it. So I think what happens is, and then I meet with the supervisors, with Dr. Lehman, Mr. Maralda, world supervisors, Ms. Ruella, and we have those in-depth conversations so that I can then work with policy chair of course, and the president to say, here are the mandatory, which we're gonna talk about in our next meeting, here's mandatory, here's suggestions, and so on and so forth, and what works for Monroe, because we have to always worry about our children. But I do agree with you, I think that there's a tremendous value to utilizing it, but we need to start training our children even before the high school about what this means and what this looks like. The conference really was an eye opener, but I will tell you also, we're gonna have to also look at our staff, and this will involve staff development.
Yes.
A lot of the people that were giving the courses or the sessions were saying the way in which you utilize your language to put forth questions will also
Prompt
assist,
engineering.
prompt engineering, will also
That's the job
assist.
title these
Oh,
days.
that's-
That makes big
I
bucks.
think that might be my next job, will also assist you in knowing that the children will be able to utilize ChatGPT for resources. I don't like to use the word cheating, but for, they would be utilizing it. And the other thing that was uncanny is source citing.
Yeah.
The source citing was one of the things in the sessions too. It was really, like you've gone to more, so I just went for the first time. And I couldn't believe it because it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. We have to own it. And we have to make sure that we handle it appropriately and we have the right policies in
So
place.
Dr. Chanley, in essence of time, I think my ask as the curriculum chair would be right now that we have the tool that's probably wired a certain way. Our teachers are using it. At the same time, we are all cognizant of the fact that the children will be
Yes.
using Copilot and ChatGPT and all of these tools, and it's good for them to learn because
Yes.
this is the future. Till we develop these policies and have these discussions and train our staff and train our administration, we should be able to have some sort of a baseline that gives parity that gives guidance to our teachers till that roadmap is decided. The big problem exists today. Our
No,
children are using it
And
today.
that is very realistic because
So-
working with Dr. Roselle alone, we can sit and have that conversation. Dr. Lehman's returning on Monday. That could be one of our, even like you said, even if it's a very, it's kind of like, when you look at the way we started with our acceptable computer use policy.
Yes.
You remember what it
You're
used to
right,
look like?
exactly.
Remember what it looked like? It was
Right
like a little
now.
tiny page in the back of the handbook. This is going back
It's
20
parent
years ago.
education.
And all you do is sign it, and now it's this extensive. So perhaps if Dr. Roselle would like to work with me, perhaps we can sit down and have that conversation about what's the bare minimum expectations that we share with our parents and our children regarding the utilization, because you're right. Copilot
Yes.
and ChatGPT are already out there, everybody's utilizing it.
So our code of conduct documents don't talk about this.
Nope.
But that's the daily struggle these days. So a parent education piece, a student education piece on the appropriate use of AI for schoolwork is probably the need of the.
It's like, what was it? Not Facebook, MySpace.
MySpace.
It dates us, but MySpace was the first Ask FM. People look at me and go, what is that? Like, that's what I dealt with as a vice principal. Like, that was the beginning of it. So now we're at a point where, and that is very doable. And even if we come up with a short to get us started in the conversation, and then we look at Strauss estimate, and then it comes to a policy, I think it's an excellent idea.
Thank you for that insight. We have a few more.
Just contracts.
Is up for renewal.
Oh,
sorry.
To share.
So briefly, if Jen, I'm gonna let you go first. We
Yeah,
have
sure.
some new contracts.
Yes, I saw that.
Handle with care?
Yes.
Handle with care first, and then I'll talk about
Okay.
that.
I like the handle with Carrie.
Thank you.
Put a little heart.
Handle with Care is just the new behavior management system that we're going to put into place for the next school year. It will be replacing CPI. So it's something that has already been within our budget all these years. The reason why we chose to look at and switch up to this new
Why
program.
don't you explain CPI for people that don't know what it is?
CPI is our behavior management system. So if our students are having difficulty behavior-wise, of course, our first way of managing is through verbal de-escalation. If that doesn't work, then we have to move into some sort of hold to try to keep them safe and the other students safe as well until they calm. Then we would follow up with procedures like making sure that they see the nurse to make sure that everyone is still safe.
Thank you, because a lot of people don't know the procedure, and I want to just.
I didn't even think about
So
that.
this is replacing CPI?
This will
Yes.
replace with CPI. With CPI, we were only able to have one person to act as trainer for the whole district. So it gave us a lot of difficulties when we were trying to get people trained throughout the year and as they were needed in the schools. With the Handle with Care program, we're able to get 10 people trained as trainers. They will be able to turnkey all of the training.
And our plan is to get at least one person in every single school. So that will give more ownership to the actual schools. When they see that they need additional training, they'll team up with their sister schools. And I'm guessing middle school and high school will team up together so that they can do the trainings with whoever needs it during that time. And like I said, we've already had this in place in our district. It's very similar cost for the two different programs, so.
The cost is
we'll
similar.
just continue on.
This question.
Yeah.
Comment. Yes, go ahead.
Who's getting trained? What, staff?
So we have talked to our principals to ask them to choose who they would think
Okay.
would be their best fit. We're trying not to.
Yeah, I think because the principals are going to take ownership of this.
Right.
It's going to be within that school, which is great because now they know who needs to be trained for it. So as they choose the trainer who will be trained, they'll be housed in the school and then can continue that process. This is ongoing.
And then a follow-up question, does this affect policy in any way? Because we do have policy on restraints.
No, Beth follows the same, I know what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes.
CSI, it's like saying, do we have, it would equate to saying power school and.
Used to be a trainer, so I'm very
Right.
familiar with it.
Oh, that's good. You like it?
Yeah, I do, but
Okay.
it's different in terms that there's no, you're not putting them on the
Right,
ground.
Right, and that's within our policy.
That's why I'm
so
asking
it's
about
up
the
to-
policy, as the policy chair, if there needs to be
It's
anything.
in ours.
It's in ours,
Okay,
which is good.
all right.
We did make.
Great
sure that
question,
was-
thank you.
We have enough in policy, let's.
Yeah, that one has been good.
And
Okay,
this will be used with either general ed or.
Well, right, yes.
correct.
And that's why I think it's important, and I think that's what she meant by the principal selecting, because we don't want that tunnel vision narrow,
Right.
thought process where it's special ed, it's case manager. No, it's not. This is for our general population, especially with a least restrictive environment. We have some children that might be classified and completely in regular education classes. So, I agree with you 100% about the principal selection.
And I will briefly just go through a new contract.
Okay.
And this is, we are forming a collaborative partnership with Center for Learning, which is in Monroe Township. And Dr. Singh addressed Dr. Lehman to see if we were interested in this. And this is something Dr. Chanley and I have talked at length of time. Students with school avoidance, school phobia, the anxiety, the depression. And after the pandemic, everyone has seen, and I know within your schools, you've obviously seen this.
Yes.
It's everywhere. So in this process, we have done some training, and this is guidance counselors in CST. So it's for the gen ed students and also the special ed students in that.
I just want to confirm, is this one on the agenda? I just want to make sure.
No,
okay.
it's not on that agenda, but we talked to Dr. Lehman, he thought maybe he could put this in.
Okay.
What's the name?
It's called the
That's
Center
Center for Wellness.
Center for Wellness.
Center for Wellness?
You can kind of take that if you want, and I can send you all of that information, but
Please do.
we're looking
And we can make sure.
to have this contract so that we could begin some of the work with the students in the summer. So that's why we are looking at this right
So if we get
now.
it.
I'll tell you a little bit about the
So this is
contract.
not replacing something, this is
No.
starting a new program.
And the monies for this, as Dr. Lehman spoke at your last curriculum meeting, the
Okay, yeah.
MTSS.
Yeah,
the
MTS is part of it.
That's the grant funded.
Okay,
It falls
got it.
under that because under that umbrella is the behavioral piece. It's not one of the tiers, but it's there. So this contract right now, we did some professional development with our guidance counselors and our CST. Because part of what we are looking at is how do we take these services from not only individuals, but move this into the school setting? Because we have so many needs. And then how do we maintain this program within our staff? So this is an ongoing process. So right now, the contract, what you would be looking at is they would begin with a virtual parent and student introduction session. So that is the clinician that's working with us through the Center for Wellness. Okay, and it also now will include either the guidance counselor or the CST member that has met with the student, knows that there are needs. This is the introduction for the parents now. Okay, without the parents' agreement, we do not go forward with the student. The next is 10 to 15 minutes virtual individual session with each student. That's after the parents have given the information of the program. They agree with it. It's virtual because these students do not come into the school setting.
That's our problem.
Okay, so that's why it's virtual. And then there's 4 days of support. The first day is 1 hour individually with each student. The second day is small group. Third day is another continuation of a group session, and the fourth is an individual session with each student. And it may include teaming up with the staff member. So here we're trying to look at what is the cause for this phobia? What is the cause for the avoidance? What causes that depression? That they cannot come out of their home. So once we find that root cause, that's what this summer program is. We continue. Right now, we are looking at 11 students that are identified.
Oh, yes.
Identified parents. We have not reached out to anyone yet. This is just
want
the
to bring it
beginning
forward
because
first.
we have to have, you
And
know.
if I could just, I don't want to interrupt, but
Sure.
just add, so if
Yeah.
you can recall going back, not last year, but the year before, effective school solutions, you might have remembered
Yes.
hearing that. And Marion and I have spent a lot of time on this because we so believe in it, but the cost is exorbitant. It was talking 50,000, 100,000, at one point it was 150,000. When we had the funding, because of the COVID, and we were able to utilize the money, and we did it in the middle school, it was just fantastic. Everybody, we had data, I was looking at you, Sarah, we had data that followed up with the children with avoidance, emotional and social issues. We couldn't maintain it. So then Marietta came to me and said, well, why do we have to maintain it? Let's do it ourselves. Let's find a program and do it ourselves and save some money. So, we had started to look at the children, but we wanted to bring it here first, but we do have 11 children identified.
And thankfully, we have grant.
Grant money, it's no cost to the
Yes,
district.
so.
Yes, it's fantastic, so.
We should.
So,
And-
you know,
Because you-
and any information you need from me, please feel free.
And what I'll do is I will get from you not only this,
Okay.
but anything else we could talk, and then we'll give it to Rishima. This way, when it's uploaded, the full board can see it, so that they don't, they have, of course, there's nothing wrong with questions, but they might have a little less question, or they might be more familiar before Wednesday comes.
And then once we start getting our students back in school, then cutting down on that home instruction piece.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
And then we have some, which is a very scary situation, that we do everything right. We make sure we maintain the integrity of offering it. We go through our attorney. They don't take it. I mean, we don't, and then we say, we always feel responsible because they're our children, but you do everything. And we have some parents that don't even want the home instruction. And then, it involves the DCPP. And where do you go from there? So we're hoping that we have to try things. We have to try things to try and get our children back in school.
Dr. Chandler, we're out of time, but we still have
Okay.
2 contracts. If we could go.
Okay. Yes.
Really quickly, the Naviance and.
Naviance, I know there's a question.
I'm sorry, the program is $11,700.
Grant funded. That's the. Yeah.
Oh, that's our program.
Is there for it?
Yes, we're replacing a different program.
I'm sorry.
We're replacing a different program. So another program that did a behavioral support, for lack of a better term, we will not utilize, and the amount of money is basically the same to go with the handle of care.
I just need to know, and I know
It's
we have
budgeted.
a lot of time, so
It's budgeted.
I just need to know what program we're gonna replace.
CPI.
CPI.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
she went over it. I can explain
Yeah.
after the meeting.
Okay, and I have to tell you, we're.
Oh, no problem. I can speak as loud as you like.
It up, and I may have to get another period.
I'm sure Ms. Rowell would like,
Yeah.
some details.
When you turn on, I
I'm
can't.
sorry.
No, you don't know it, so that's why I'm so, when I'm looking at you to make sure I'm getting all the.
Yeah, you know what we can do? No forgiveness needed. What we can, I'm loud. What we can do is, we can go ahead, I'll be happy to forward it to you, or when we meet, I'm gonna see you, I can hand it to you. Basically, the cost is going to be replacing another program that we feel does the same job, but is better equipped for what we need now in Monroe. And it is budgeted for, so there's no additional cost.
I guess send me that, that's.
I'd be happy to. Send it to me and I'll take care of it. Okay, so I can go through this very quickly.
Yes.
Because we have lots in policy. So
Yeah.
Naviance is fabulous. Many years ago, we did career cruising. We started doing Naviance, I want to say 10 years ago. We replaced career cruising. What it happens in the middle school, continues in the high school. It's, she does a couple of different things. One, in the middle school, it gives an introduction to career readiness, college readiness for the children. And then in high school, it becomes their portfolio for when I'm looking at, so she's asking, which is great, which means I'm right. It's their portfolio of how they apply to colleges, how their teachers, put in their recommendations and so forth.
Why only 685 students? Because I know we do start using it junior year, right?
Say that again?
There's 685 students on the contract that's up for renewal. Isn't that count less?
No, more than 685 children do get
So
covered
if
though.
you look at the contract.
Because maybe that's all they
it
go
says
to.
685, it's right here. 685 students?
I think it's Naviance alumni
Tracker
tracker
score, 685 students, Naviance score
Assessment,
assessment, 685. That was the only thing that.
What I can do,
I mean, I don't know for certain, but I would venture to guess it is charged by seniors because the actual service is when,
The paid services. are
Yeah.
right,
seniors.
the paid
Okay.
services may only be senior because That
That's
is
what it looks like.
during the application process where teachers are uploading recommendations and doing things like that.
So the contract starts August 1st. Is that the renewal term? Because my concern is that we do use a lot of Naviance for juniors, starting, like, they start looking at it in junior year, but probably that's a free version of it. But by this time, people are asking for recommendation over the summer. They're asking for all.
Yeah, I don't think it expires because I know some recommendations turn in, but what I can do is, which is not a problem to save time for the next committee meeting, is I'll confirm with Dr. Lamy, who's returning on Monday, just to make sure that nobody's being missed, no one's missing out.
That's
How's that? You are concerned about the course, you're concerned to make sure we didn't leave anybody behind,
right.
and I will
I
take
think
care of
it's a
that.
very important.
I agree.
That enables her.
Right.
I've never known there to be a break in service.
No, it's always been
If
continuous.
there's- And again, because we're not part of that whole contract, but for there to be that number, which does seem like it's senior, that has to be what it is. Because if you think from a.
It's a continuation, I would think.
That's where the coordination goes with the colleges, because they use that to send things to the colleges going through. So I highly doubt there's gonna be.
We'll wait for clarification, but thank you. And just the last one is education.
Okay,
That's a Title III.
that's Title III. That's you.
It's funding through Title III. We are going to leverage that for course completion for some of our multilingual learners who may not have earned credit through pathway number one.
One.
So instead of taking a course, through summer school, we are leveraging our Title III funds so that they are using this online courseware, but it is live asynchronous instructors. Imagine Learning offers translation services with that instruction. And we will also support students through our after-school ESL support as well. So I've leveraged our Title III funds. This is coming out of our ESL 3-year plan. An area identified for growth continues to be our graduation rate. So this is one way to make sure our students are on that pathway, or our multilingual learners are on that pathway to 4 or 5-year graduation.
Prior to summer school, which is the way to go, instead of waiting to the end where they're not successful.
Right,
So
so there's,
asynchronous, this is the first time trying this?
it's our first time, so there's only 20 licenses. It's
Okay.
really, it's a program leveraged by many districts in the state.
Okay.
And there's a lot of advantages for multilingual learners, but we control the back end. So we see the pace at which they're completing lessons. We see what's been completed at what level of proficiency, how they're scoring on the assessments. We can design assessments. Whereas if a student were to go to New Jersey Virtual School, EduSeer,
We have no control.
they can click through and we don't have any control over that. So we maintain control over it. And this could be for, yes, it's purchased through Title III for my multilingual learners this year. It can be for
For anybody,
Okay.
but we're able to utilize those funds, it's appropriate.
We're all out of
Did a
time.
great job.
But if anybody has questions, please email it to Dr. Chanley and me on this, and we will look into it. Real quick shout out, tomorrow is a very important meeting for anybody who's tuned into this meeting. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock is a legislative advocacy and community engagement meeting where we have our representatives coming in person. Please tune in tomorrow if you cannot be here in person, and support our Board of Ed members that are going to be having a very important discussion with them. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
for your
you.
time. Sorry late. Thank you.